In the charming municipality of Seabrook, where tranquil streets intertwined between wooden-clad residences, tinted in pastel shades and surrounded by meticulously crafted gardens, existence flowed in a placid cadence, lulling by the eternal murmur of waves breaking on the shore. Seabrook seemed suspended in a distant era, offering a sanctuary for those yearning for a breath of simplicity by the seaside. However, for Claire Morgan, such tranquility was nothing but an illusion, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions and challenges tumultuating her heart and mind. Claire, during one of her evening strolls through the town, as the sun began to set on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, reflected upon this discrepancy. How can such a serene place harbor such a tormented soul? She questioned internally, feeling the weight of her concerns amplified by the calmness surrounding her. The contrast between Seabrook's external peace and her internal turmoil seemed ironically cruel. She paused for a moment, gazing out at the sea, her gaze lost in the vast blue expanse that somehow mirrored her own depth of feelings. As she watched the waves, Claire thought of her life before the tragedy, an existence shared with joy alongside her family, filled with small happy moments and daily routines that now seemed like a lost treasure. It was such a simple, pure happiness, she murmured, her voice choked with emotion. How did we come to this point? The sea breeze caressed her face, bringing the saltiness of the ocean, a cold solace for her unshed tears. She continued her journey through the streets of Seabrook, passing by neighbors who with kind smiles waved in greeting. Claire returned the gestures with a forced smile, a disguise for the pain consuming her. Everyone here lives their lives. Unaware of the storm raging within me, she thought. Do they also have their own hidden storms? The idea that she was not alone in her suffering brought a strange comfort, but also deepened her sense of isolation. Upon arriving home, a lovely sky-blue wooden structure with a small yet inviting front garden, Claire allowed herself a few moments to admire the scene she had built with so much love alongside her husband. This home, which has been the backdrop for so many laughs and happy moments, now echoes with absence and longing, she reflected as she opened the front door. The house, with its walls filled with photographs and memories, now seemed like a museum of a life she feared she might never be able to reclaim. Inside the house, silence was interrupted only by the sound of Claire's footsteps and the occasional laughter of her children playing in the backyard. These sounds, which once brought her so much joy, now served as constant reminders of the responsibility she carried on her shoulders. How can I offer them the stability and love they need while feeling so lost myself? She questioned, the complexity of her emotions reflecting the duality of her world. A beautiful exterior masking an interior marked by struggle and pain. As she prepared dinner, a routine act she tried to maintain for a sense of normalcy, Claire allowed herself to dream of a future where inner peace could finally mirror the tranquility of Seabrook. Perhaps one day we can all find our way back to happiness, she hoped, holding firmly onto the belief that, despite the storm she faced, one day the sun would shine again for her and her family. At 35 years old, Claire Morgan exuded a natural grace, a hint of light that recent challenges struggled to conceal, yet not entirely without success. Where once her brown locks danced freely in the breeze, they now often found themselves confined in a hurried bun, a tangible reflection of the reins she desperately tried to keep over the turbulence of her existence. The inquisitive sparkle that once illuminated her gaze had given way to an oppressive weight, revealing the countless sleepless nights that plagued her, while persistent shadows traced the map of her anxieties beneath her eyes. The unexpected death of Peter, her husband, brought not only a piercing pain from the loss, but also the colossal challenge of untangling a complex financial web whose existence was previously unknown to her. In one of those dusks, as she gazed upon the kitchen's twilight-painted horizon, Claire allowed her reflections to find voice. How can I move forward? She queried into the emptiness, melancholy tinting her words. Peter, you left me with more than just memories. You left behind puzzles I'm not sure I'm capable of solving. Amidst these lonely nights, she often found herself wandering through the house she had shared with Peter, every corner a reminder of the memories they had built together. The couch where they laughed at comedies on Saturdays, the dining table witness to conversations and plans for the future, now served as the backdrop for her silent monologue of longing and resilience. "I need to be strong, for myself and for our children," she murmured, gazing at the family photograph above the fireplace, a happy smile from times past, contrasting with her current expression. On a particularly difficult morning, as she attempted to sort through the bills and collection notices that piled up before her, Claire allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. "Peter, why did you leave me in this labyrinth?" she questioned aloud, tears welling up as she tightly held a collection letter. It was as if each document was another brick in the wall rising between her and the sense of stability she desperately sought to regain. As the afternoon arrived, with golden rays of sunlight streaming through the curtains, casting luminous patterns on the floor of the living room, Claire found herself reflecting on the duality of her reality. The external light, so contrasting with the inner darkness, served as a cruel reminder of her solitary struggle. Perhaps it's time to seek help, she thought, the idea of sharing her burdens beginning to take shape. I can't continue carrying this weight alone. It was with this spirit that Claire began to open up to her friends and family, gradually unraveling the tangled web of challenges she faced. Each conversation, though difficult, was a step toward the light, an attempt to reconnect with the world around her and find a path through the labyrinth of her new reality. "I'm learning to navigate this storm," she confessed to a close friend over coffee, her words laden with a mix of determination and hope. "And I know that somehow, I'll find a way out." When Claire became aware of the unpaid financial obligations left by Peter, the fact imposed itself with the force of a devastating storm, amplifying the void left by his departure. On a morning tinted by the soft light seeping through the kitchen curtains, she found herself cornered between mountains of bills and urgent notices that seemed to multiply with every glance. Surrounded by this sea of paper, discouragement began to settle in her heart. How could Peter leave me in this maze of uncertainties? She questioned aloud, allowing the sense of abandonment and anguish to flood her being. The pain of loss was intensified not only by the physical absence of her lifelong companion, but also by the revelation that, even after his departure, the shadows of his choices loomed, a dark veil over the family's future. It was as if each document were a reminder that the stability they had built together was more fragile than Claire could ever have imagined. "Why didn't he tell me?" she whispered into the kitchen's silence, her words echoing against the cold walls, seeking answers in an empty space. Betrayal, real or perceived, turned her grief into a complex tangle of emotions, further complicating the healing process. At that moment, the phone rang, cutting through the tension-filled air. It was a friend, concerned about Claire's prolonged silence. "How are you, dear?" the voice on the other end of the line questioned, bringing a thread of human connection to the darkness Claire felt. "I'm trying to navigate a storm I didn't see coming," Claire replied, the sincerity in her voice creating a bridge between her isolated world and the support her friends were trying to offer. "Peter left me a legacy of debts I didn't even know existed. I'm drowning in a sea of uncertainties." The ensuing conversation was a mixture of venting and comfort, a reminder that, despite feeling alone, there were people willing to lend a hand. "You're not alone in this, Claire. We're here for you to help shoulder this burden," her friend affirmed, injecting a ray of hope into the darkness that seemed to envelop Claire. After hanging up the phone, Claire allowed herself a few moments of reflection. Looking around at the kitchen that had once been the backdrop for so many happy moments and now served as the setting for her anguish, she recognized the need to confront the situation head-on. "Peter may have left me with this problem, but it's up to me to find a way out," she mused, a renewed determination beginning to take shape within her. In Claire's murky life, the smiles and personalities of her children emerged as beacons, guiding her through the dense fog of sadness and uncertainty. Emma, the eldest, had retreated into a world of silence and paper, where her colored pencils danced across the white, creating imaginary refugees far from the challenges haunting their home. These moments of artistic seclusion became her safe haven, a silent escape from the tempestuous reality surrounding the Morgan family. Jack, the middle sibling with his indomitable and curious spirit, endeavored to inject a dose of optimism into the daily routine. "Mom, when can we laugh like we used to?" he would often question, his brown eyes shining with a mixture of hope and confusion. These questions, as innocent as they were piercing, served as rough reminders to Claire that the former normalcy might indeed never be restored. Jack, in his relentless pursuit of adventure, often found creative ways to distract his siblings, attempting to bring some lightness to their dark days. Lily, the penultimate of the brood, and possessed of a tenderness that seemed to flow naturally from her being, acted as the glue holding the family fragments together. Her gentle touch and soft words were solace in times of tension, a balm for the emotional wounds they all shared. "It's going to be okay, Mom," she whispered, with a wisdom beyond her years, as she enveloped Claire in a hug that seemed to momentarily dissolve the weight of the world on her shoulders. And then there was Alex, the youngest, whose understanding of recent events was lost in the haze of his childlike innocence. His easy smile and laughter were a constant reminder of the pure and unconditional love that persisted despite adversity. However, his inability to fully grasp the absence of his father brought sharp pain to Claire, a reminder that, for Alex, the paternal figure would become more of a story than a lived memory. One day, as the family gathered in the living room, seeking comfort in each other's company, Emma shared one of her drawings. It depicted a scene of them all together, smiling under a bright blue sky. "I drew us happy like we're going to be again," she said, a statement of hope painted in vibrant colors. Clary, tears in her eyes, hugged at her children, feeling a mixture of gratitude and determination. "We will find our way back to happiness," she promised, looking at each of them, together. This promise, made amidst a collection of small moments of unity and support, became the beacon that would guide Claire and her children. Despite the pain and uncertainties, their strength as a family emerged, shining like a light through the darkness, promising brighter days ahead. The housekeeper, Mrs. Ellen, who had surpassed the age of 60, sported her always neatly arranged silver hair in a refined bun, transcending her initial role to become an indispensable confidant to Claire. On a day marked by challenges, as Claire was drowning amidst a sea of documents and an emotional storm, Mrs. Ellen, with the delicacy of one who deeply understands others' pain, approached her offering a warm cup of tea accompanied by words of comfort. "Claire, dear, you have me. We don't have to walk through this storm alone. There is always a path to be discovered, and we will do it together." At that moment, the kitchen, illuminated by the soft light of the sunset streaming through the windows, transformed into a safe haven, a small oasis of serenity amidst the chaos. As the kettle whispered in the background, Claire felt a wave of gratitude for Mrs. Ellen's presence in her life. "How did you manage to become the anchor I so desperately needed without me even realizing it?" Claire reflected, surprised by the depth of the connection that had formed between them. Mrs. Ellen, sensing Claire's misty-eyed gaze, smiled gently, a smile that carried years of wisdom and understanding. "My dear, in times of storm, we learn to cherish every beam of light, and I've seen in you and your children a family deserving of all the love and support in the world. We are defined not only by the ties of blood, but also by the ties we choose to weave throughout life." So while they savored the tea, enveloped by the warmth of the home they had sustained together, Claire and Mrs. Ellen shared not only silences and looks of mutual understanding, but also a renewed hope for better days. The conversation flowed naturally, between reminiscences of the past and plans for the future, further solidifying the bond that united them. Inspired by Mrs. Ellen's strength and determination, Claire began to see a light at the end of the tunnel. "Perhaps there really is a way out of this darkness that surrounds us," she thought aloud, surprising herself with the resilience that was beginning to emerge. That moment of complicity and deep understanding between Claire and Mrs. Ellen was a milestone in Claire's journey of overcoming. It reaffirmed the belief that even in life's darkest chapters, the presence and unconditional support of someone who cares can be the beacon that guides us back to hope. And so, amid shared smiles and made plans, Claire and Mrs. Ellen solidified an alliance based on strength, courage, and above all, unwavering faith in the human capacity to rise from the ashes. Striving to re-enter the field of translation emerged as a viable route in Claire's quest for stability. However, she found herself confronted with a professional reality, colder and more distant than she had anticipated. The dynamics of submitting applications had turned into a daily practice, alternating between moments of optimism and deep frustration. "Is this really the right time?" she questioned quietly, while struggling to keep discouragement at bay with each rejection notification that flooded her inbox. This journey of ups and downs has turned Claire's kitchen table into a veritable command center for job hunting. Papers scattered, the laptop always open to job listings, and a mug of coffee that never seemed to cool down. These compose the backdrop of her mornings. In one of these moments, talking to her reflection on the black screen of her computer, she allowed herself a vent. "Claire, you have to be stronger than this. Rejection is just a step along the way." With each rejection email, a small part of Claire wondered if her decision to pursue a career in translation again had been hasty. "Should I explore other paths?" she pondered, glancing at the sheets listing potential employers and the notes she had made about updating courses. It was a constant internal battle between following her passion for translation and the harsh reality of a market that didn't seem to have room for her. On a particularly bleak afternoon, after receiving yet another negative response, Claire decided to take a walk in the nearby park, seeking some fresh air and a new perspective. Sitting on a bench under the canopy of old trees, she watched children playing and couples strolling, a world apart from her fruitless job search. Maybe it's a sign to change direction, she reflected, the idea of reinventing herself professionally beginning to take root in her mind. But what if I'm just not looking in the right places, she pondered, allowing herself to consider that the problem might not be the timing or her career choice, but perhaps the way she was approaching her search. With that thought in mind, Claire returned home, determined to adopt a new strategy in her professional journey. She decided to expand her network of contacts, participate in online forums for translators, and even start a blog about her experiences and challenges in the field. "If the market cannot accommodate me, perhaps I can create my own space within it," she concluded, feeling a new wave of determination. It was an ambitious plan that would require time, effort, and a lot of learning, but Claire was ready to face the challenge, armed with renewed optimism and the certainty that her passion for translation was worth pursuing. In one of those moments where the boundary between determination and discouragement blurred, obscuring any glimpse of clarity, Claire chose to seek refuge in the cemetery. The intention was not just to pay homage at Peter's gravy. She sought a sanctuary of introspection, a sacred space where she could allow herself to cry without restraint, away from the sympathetic gaze of her children. Walking through the pathways between graves, where each stone narrated an unheard chapter of a life already concluded, the sensation of isolation embraced Claire intensely. Standing before Peter's final resting place, she confronted the engraved inscriptions that reminded her of promises of endless love. "How will I face life without your presence?" she whispered softly, letting her voice blend with the chilly breeze sweeping through the area. At that moment, a serene voice broke through the bubble of her pain. "Are you all right?" Turning around, Claire spotted an elderly gentleman who kept a certain distance, casting her a gaze filled with compassion and understanding. Arthur Wells, wrapped in a thick overcoat and a woolen cap, stood out in the gloomy setting of the cemetery. Yet, there was a wisdom in his eyes, a depth that seemed to embrace Claire's sorrows without even touching them. "I'm trying to cope," she replied, wiping away the tears that insisted on falling. "My husband passed away not long ago, and it feels like the void he left is immeasurable." With a nod full of empathy, Arthur approached, each step measured, revealing his respect for Claire's grief. Goodbyes are unexpected visitors in our lives, always finding a way to us, despite our attempts to hide from them. I'm here to remember my wife, who passed away years ago. But there are moments when the longing is as present as if it were yesterday. The dialogue between Claire and Arthur unfolded like a balm for both. The exchange of words stemmed not only from their shared losses, but from the mutual understanding that overflowed amid the silence surrounding them. There, in that space where life and death intersected, a new bond began to be woven, thread by thread, offering Claire a glimpse of comfort in the solidarity of a stranger who somehow no longer seemed so strange to her. During that exchange of experiences and emotions, a new chapter began to unfold for Claire, in which Arthur played an unexpected role of mentor and friend. Through Arthur's narratives of love, loss, and the countless journeys shared with his beloved wife, Claire was introduced to a new way of seeing life. He described distant lands and diverse cultures, recounted episodes of genuine happiness and obstacles overcome, casting beams of light into the shadows that dominated Claire's universe. In our journeys, we sometimes encounter paths we never thought to follow, Arthur pondered, his eyes fixed on the majesty of the sunset painting, the sky in shades of amber and magenta. However, even in the darkest valleys, we can discover beauty, extract lessons. There is invariably a spark of hope to be nurtured. Absorbed in Arthur's words, Claire felt as if a comforting warmth invaded her chest, awakening an emotion that had been strange to her for so long. Hope. Arthur, the stranger brought by chance to her, offered more than just support. He extended to her a passage to possibilities that Claire could never have imagined on her own. "And how do you find the strength to move forward after so much suffering?" Claire asked, her curiosity sharpened by the wisdom and serenity that Arthur radiated, even after recounting episodes of intense personal pain. Arthur smiled gently, a gesture that carried with it the serenity of one who has learned to accept life's storms. "Ah, my dear, it's a continuous process. I've learned to appreciate the moments, to value the encounters, however brief they may be, and the memory of happy days with my wife. They are the beacon that guides me. Our love, though transformed by absence, has never ceased to be my compass." As the days went by, the bond between Claire and Arthur grew stronger, blossoming into a genuine camaraderie. Their meetings took place regularly in the cemetery setting, which paradoxically had become a sanctuary of serenity and introspection for both. Punctual as a clock, Arthur always arrived armed with untold stories and newly discovered wisdom that almost magically dispelled the shadows clouding Claire's spirit. For her, these shared moments were like luminous beacons, cutting through the fog of uncertainties enveloping her existence. Each narrative spoken by Arthur opened portals to unknown dimensions, showing Claire that, despite the veil of sadness, the world still held wonders to be appreciated. "You see, Claire," Arthur began with an expectant gleam in his eyes, "in every corner of this vast world, there are stories of resilience and simple joys waiting to be discovered." He recounted his adventures and the lessons learned, from vibrant markets in distant lands to contemplative silences in solitary mountains, each word weaving a tapestry rich in the colors and textures of life. "Our paths," Arthur reflected, "are woven by a series of choices and chances, intertwining light and shadow. And even in the darkest phases, if we look closely, we can find fragments of beauty and wisdom." His words, laden with deep experience, acted as a balm on the open wounds in Claire's heart, reigniting the flame of hope she thought extinguished. Absorbed in Arthur's stories, Claire felt an inner rebirth. "There is so much I have yet to see, so much I have not lived," she pondered aloud, surprised by the newfound thirst for life burgeoning within her, fueled by the shared experiences. "Your stories, they make me believe that perhaps there is a new chapter waiting for me, a chapter filled with colors I have yet to learn to see." And so, under the canopy of trees in the cemetery, where life and death seemed to dance in an eternal waltz, Claire and Arthur wove a rare friendship, forged in the sharing of pains and dreams. Each encounter, each exchange, was a step in Claire's journey of healing, a reminder that even in the most painful chapters of our lives, there exists the possibility of rediscovering joy and wonder in the world. During a twilight, as the sun yielded its place to the night veil dotted with nascent stars, Arthur revealed an episode of his life that deeply touched Claire's soul. "There was a time," he began, with a serene tone that embroidered each word in the air, "when my partner and I found ourselves facing a dilemma very similar to yours. We were taken by surprise by an unexpected deviation in the course of our existence, and it seemed that the aspirations we nurtured were crumbling before us." Claire, absorbed in the soothing melody of Arthur's narrative, saw reflections of her own saga in those revelations. "In a village hidden in the south of France, we discovered the key to our rebirth," he continued. "There, far from our comfort zone, we awakened to a new meaning for our lives. It was the art of savoring existence, the joie de vivre, that rescued us. This philosophy taught us to extract contentment from the simplest moments, to cherish each new dawn as a gift, even in the most turbulent times." The echo of Arthur's words reverberated within Claire, igniting within her the desire to rediscover the charm and the trivialities of everyday life, to embrace each moment with appreciation and optimism. "And how was it from there on?" Claire inquired, moved by the narrative Arthur was unfolding. With a smile that carried the weight of experience and the calm of someone who has faced countless adversities, Arthur replied, "We built a life filled with meaning, marked by love, by discoveries, and most importantly, by profound gratitude. That is the wish I have for you, Claire. May you find your own joie de vivre, your personal path toward true joy." The encounters in the cemetery had evolved into true sacred enclaves for Claire, becoming precious occasions of deep bonding that she came to cherish more than anything else. As the golden leaves of autumn transitioned to the snowy mantle of winter, the bond between Claire and Arthur grew even stronger, becoming a true refuge amidst the daily adversities. "This place, despite its eternal silence, speaks volumes to us, doesn't it, Arthur?" Claire remarked, enveloped in the tranquility of the graveyard, her breath forming small clouds in the cold air. "Indeed, Claire. Every tombstone, every name engraved here is a story, a reminder that despite everything, life goes on, and we, still on our journey, have the chance to weave stories worth remembering," Arthur responded, his gaze scanning the horizon where the snow was beginning to gently cover the graves, offering a peaceful contrast to their conversation. As they walked side by side, leaving footprints in the fresh snow, Claire reflected on how much these moments of dialogue and sharing meant to her. They were like balms to her soul, bringing light to the darkest days and offering new perspectives on the continuity of life, even when loss seemed insurmountable. "You know, Arthur, I never thought I would find comfort in a place like this. But your words, your presence, they have taught me to see beauty even in farewell," Claire shared, her heart warmed by the genuine connection they had built. Arthur, with a gentle smile, nodded, deeply understanding the transformation Claire was going through. "It's curious how life prepares surprises for us, Claire. Our meeting, this unexpected friendship, all of this makes me believe that even in the most unlikely circumstances, we can find reasons to move forward, to renew our hopes." The two continued their stroll through the cemetery, now a serene scene under the whiteness of winter, each step strengthening the special bond that had grown between them. These moments of unity, occurring regularly under the silent gaze of those who had passed away, had become essential for Claire, a ritual that nourished her soul and gave her strength to face the challenges of daily life with a new resilience, inspired by Arthur's wisdom and friendship. Together, they had created a safe haven, a place where they could truly be themselves, sharing fears, dreams, and above all, the unwavering belief in the possibility of better days, despite the storms life presented to them. On one of those winter afternoons, when the cold air crystallized every breath into visible mist, Arthur presented Claire with a suggestion that promised a new direction for her days. "I've noticed the dedication with which you seek to rebuild your professional path," he began, his breath tracing swirls in the chilly air. "I believe I can offer a path." With a mix of astonishment and interest, Claire looked at him, the light of expectation shining in her tired eyes. "What is your idea?" Arthur then revealed that he was in the process of documenting his adventures and reflections accumulated throughout life. However, I need someone who can transcribe these experiences into another language, infusing them with new life. And frankly, I can't imagine anyone more suitable for this mission than you." The offer made Claire feel simultaneously honored and intimidated. Taking on the responsibility of translating someone's experiences meant delving deeply into their essence, translating not only words but also feelings and perceptions. "Do you really think I'm up to it?" she asked, overcome by uncertainty. "Without a shadow of a doubt," Arthur asserted, with unwavering conviction. "You possess a unique sensitivity, Claire. You're able to perceive the heart of each narrative, to give voice to the emotional nuances. That's precisely what my narrative requires." For Claire, accepting this task offered by Arthur represented more than a mere professional commitment. It was a decisive step in reconstructing her path, an opportunity to rediscover her calling and aspirations. Armed with Arthur's encouragement, she found herself ready to embrace this new journey. As Claire and Arthur dedicated themselves to the task of giving new voice to Arthur's reminiscences, Claire found herself confronted with a universe filled with stories that transcended cultural and geographical boundaries. With every line she translated into another language, it was as if she embarked on an odyssey, each discovery enriching her being, both professionally and personally. In this collaborative journey, Claire began to see the tapestry of her existence from renewed perspectives, understanding that even in the face of obstacles and storms, the world still revealed wonders and moments of happiness. "With every story I translate, it feels like I'm exploring unknown territories, uncovering ancient secrets," Claire shared once, as she reviewed a manuscript in the twilight that flooded her office. "It's incredible to realize that, regardless of where we come from or what challenges we face, there's a thread of humanity that binds us." Arthur, listening attentively, smiled with the wisdom of one who knew the roads of life well. "That's the power of stories, Claire. They teach us, transform us, and connect us in ways we can barely imagine. Seeing you rediscover yourself through my memories is a gift to me as well." Together, in this shared journey of translation and discovery, Claire gradually rediscovered colors she believed lost from her personal palette. Each anecdote from Arthur, each scene described in the pages of his memories, acted as an invitation for Claire to look beyond the veil of her adversities, inspiring her to seek her own path of contentment and purpose. "It's as if I'm being guided by a star map, where each story is a constellation that illuminates my path," she reflected, marveling at the transformation taking place within her. "Arthur, your life is a compass that shows me that despite the storms, there's always possibility for beauty and renewal." In this exchange of experiences and feelings, Claire not only translated Arthur's experiences into another language, she also translated her own existence, rewriting her story with new shades of hope and joy. And thus, side by side, master and apprentice in the craft of life, both discovered that in the heart of shared memories lay the key to mutual rebirth. The collaboration around Arthur's chronicles turned into something far beyond a simple task. It became a therapeutic journey for Claire. Immersed in Arthur's life narratives, she began to recognize reflections of her own personal strength and to sketch a path to mitigate her own distress. Each moment devoted to this project, though focused on Arthur's experiences, evolved into an enriching exchange. Claire aired her experiences and reflections, while Arthur shared his profound insight and support. This constant interaction became a vehicle for growth and rediscovery, gradually contributing to the recomposition of Claire's fragmented self. On a particularly introspective afternoon, while flipping through pages filled with adventures and epiphanies, Claire expressed her admiration. "Arthur, your experiences are a beacon for me. How do you manage to maintain such hope and joy, even in the face of challenges?" Arthur, with a contemplative gaze directed towards the window where the last rays of sunlight traced dancing shadows on the floor, replied, "Claire, life is a mosaic of light and shadow. I've learned that even in the darkest moments, it's possible to find sparks of light. It's these sparks that propel us forward. Through this exchange of experiences and feelings, Claire was able to see beyond the veil of sadness that clouded her vision. Arthur's memories, filled with love, loss, and resilience, acted as a mirror, reflecting the possibility of reconstruction and happiness after the storm. This process not only provided Claire with a new perspective on her journey, but also imbued her with a sense of connection and purpose, reminding her of the inherent human capacity to recover and find meaning even after the greatest adversities. With the arrival of spring in Seabrook, a new chapter unfolded, laden with expectations of rebirth. The first flowers bloomed, adorning the streets and parks of the city with a multicolored palette that whispered promises of new beginnings. This transformation, weaving its way through the city, resonated deeply within Claire, infusing her heart with a renewed sense of possibility and optimism. It was in this backdrop of renewal that Claire found her greatest joy in the daily sessions dedicated to translating Arthur's memories. With every word she translated from one language to another, every paragraph steeped in experiences and wisdom, Claire discovered a portal to an expanded universe, far beyond the reach of her personal tribulations. "Arthur, your stories, they transport me," Claire shared in one of these encounters, as the scent of fresh flowers filled the workspace, mingling with the smell of old pages. "They make me forget my pains, even if for a moment, and make me believe in the beauty of life again." Arthur, watching a group of birds celebrating the season with their song, smiled with the depth of someone who has known pain but also resilience. That's the power of stories, Claire. They elevate us, showing us that despite everything, there's a thread of magic woven into everyday reality. In this exchange of feelings and reflections, where each session became a small celebration of life, Claire rediscovered parts of herself she thought lost. It was as if, by giving voice to Arthur's experiences, she also found her own voice, a distant echo that gradually grew stronger and clearer. Spring in Seabrook was not just a seasonal change. For Claire, it meant an inner awakening, a journey of self-discovery fueled by the art of translation and connection with Arthur. The colorful streets of Seabrook and the meticulous work of transcribing memories were not mere parallel events, but parts of a larger process of healing and discovery, illuminating the path for Claire to find joy and purpose amidst life's adversities. Claire began to open up more to Arthur, sharing the complexities of raising her children alone and the quest to rebuild her own world in the void left by Peter. Arthur, in response, narrated his life adventures, highlighting moments when he overcame significant obstacles, serving as a reflection for Claire to glimpse the resilience she herself possessed, but sometimes eluded her perception. "You see, Claire," Arthur once expressed, as a golden twilight unfolded before them, painting the sky with vibrant hues. "There's something quite singular about how existence chooses to challenge us. However, it is precisely by facing these challenges that we are forged, shaped in the essence of what we truly are. And you, my dear, are emerging as a remarkable force to be reckoned with." Arthur's observations resonated at the core of Claire, acting as a remedy for the sorrows she presumed to be perpetual. It was a turning point for her. For the first time after a long period of mourning and uncertainties, Claire began to nurture a strong belief in her ability to rise and pave a promising path for herself and her children. In one of these exchanges, as sunlight gave way to the shadows of the night, she confided, "Arthur, your words and experiences make me see that, despite the abysses I've faced, I still manage to find strength to move forward. It's as if you've lit a lantern on a path I feared would forever be obscured." Arthur, with an understanding smile, simply replied, "Claire, each person carries within themselves an unquenchable light. Sometimes it just takes a little contrary wind to make it shine even brighter. You're discovering yours now, and it's brilliant." The initially strictly professional collaboration between Claire and Arthur had evolved into a bond of genuine and meaningful friendship, transcending the scope of the memories they collaborated to translate. Arthur emerged as a pillar in Claire's family dynamics, marking his presence with consistency and warmth that brought comfort to both her and her children. Arthur's visits to Sunday lunches became a cherished ritual, where he and the children shared moments of fun and laughter, and where he, assuming a role akin to that of a grandfather, passed on his knowledge and life experiences to the fascinated young listeners. "Arthur, you're like the grandfather they never had," Claire expressed one afternoon, watching as her children were entertained by Arthur's stories. "Your warmth and your stories are treasures to us." With a gentle smile, Arthur replied, "I feel honored to be part of your family in this way. Seeing the sparkle of curiosity and joy in your children's eyes is an invaluable gift to me." This development in their relationship was reflected not only in the shared leisure moments, but also in how Arthur became a confidant for Claire, someone with whom she could share her concerns and aspirations. The children, in turn, eagerly awaited Arthur's visits, seeing in him a source of adventures and teachings, always eager to hear more about the distant places and interesting people he described with such enthusiasm. As the translation project of Arthur's memoirs neared its conclusion, Claire experienced a whirlwind of emotions. On one hand, there was a sense of accomplishment in completing a task that held immeasurable value for both Arthur and herself. On the other hand, a feeling of melancholy pervaded her spirit as she acknowledged that they were nearing the end of a period that had been extraordinarily transformative in her life. "Arthur," Claire expressed during one of their final translation sessions, as twilight painted soft hues in the sky, "it's strange to think we're almost at the end of this project. I feel a mix of pride for what we've accomplished together and a kind of sadness knowing this stage is coming to an end." Reflecting on Claire's words, Arthur shared his own perspective. "Claire, every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning. The work we've done together, the hours we've shared, the bonds we've strengthened. It doesn't end with the last translated page. We've created something that transcends the very words we've translated." Arthur's words instilled in Claire a new vision. She began to realize that although the translation project might be nearing its epilogue, the journey they had undertaken together had opened new doors, both for her and for Arthur. It was the end of a chapter, yes, but also the prelude to future adventures and discoveries that were yet to come. "You're right, Arthur," Claire replied, a smile forming on her lips despite the nostalgia she felt. "This project has transformed me in ways I couldn't imagine, and I'm sure the future holds more for us." At that moment, Arthur revealed an idea that promised to open a new chapter for both of them. As they sat on Arthur's balcony, overlooking the ocean shimmering in the light of dusk, he shared, "Claire, dedicating myself to this project with you has become one of the most enriching journeys I've ever experienced. And it occurred to me that our partnership doesn't have to end with this project." With wide eyes marked by surprise and anticipation, Claire awaited what would come next. "I've been thinking about a new venture," Arthur continued, his eyes sparkling with renewed energy. "I imagine that together, we can bring to life a compilation of stories that reflect the experiences we've shared, the adversities we've overcome. A compilation that can serve as a beacon for those who at this very moment find themselves navigating stormy seas in their lives." Reflecting on Claire's words, Arthur shared his own perspective. "Claire, every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning. The work we've done together, the hours we've shared, the bonds we've strengthened. It doesn't end with the last translated page. We've created something that transcends the very words we've translated." Arthur's words instilled in Claire a new vision. She began to realize that although the translation project might be nearing its epilogue, the journey they had undertaken together had opened new doors, both for her and for Arthur. It was the end of a chapter, yes, but also the prelude to future adventures and discoveries that were yet to come. "You're right, Arthur," Claire replied, a smile forming on her lips despite the nostalgia she felt. "This project has transformed me in ways I couldn't imagine, and I'm sure the future holds more for us." At that moment, Arthur revealed an idea that promised to open a new chapter for both of them. As they sat on Arthur's balcony, overlooking the ocean shimmering in the light of dusk, he shared, "Claire, dedicating myself to this project with you has become one of the most enriching journeys I've ever experienced. And it occurred to me that our partnership doesn't have to end with this project. With wide eyes, marked by surprise and anticipation, Claire awaited what would come next. "I've been thinking about a new venture," Arthur continued, his eyes sparkling with renewed energy. "I imagine that together we can bring to life a compilation of stories. Stories that reflect the experiences we've shared, the adversities we've overcome. A compilation that can serve as a beacon for those who, at this very moment, find themselves navigating stormy seas in their lives." Reflecting on Claire's words, Arthur shared his own perspective. "Claire, every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning. The work we've done together, the hours we've shared, the bonds we've strengthened. It doesn't end with the last translated page. We've created something that transcends the very words we've translated." Arthur's words instilled in Claire a new vision. She began to realize that although the translation project might be nearing its epilogue, the journey they had undertaken together had opened new doors, both for her and for Arthur. It was the end of a chapter, yes, but also the prelude to future adventures and discoveries that were yet to come. "You're right, Arthur," Claire replied, a smile forming on her lips despite the nostalgia she felt. "This project has transformed me in ways I couldn't imagine, and I'm sure the future holds more for us." At that moment, Arthur revealed an idea that promised to open a new chapter for both of them. As they sat on Arthur's balcony, overlooking the ocean shimmering in the light of dusk, he shared, "Claire, dedicating myself to this project with you has become one of the most enriching journeys I've ever experienced. And it occurred to me that our partnership doesn't have to end with this project." With wide eyes marked by surprise and anticipation, Claire awaited what would come next. "I've been thinking about a new venture," Arthur continued, his eyes sparkling with renewed energy. "I imagine that together we can bring to life a compilation of stories. Stories that reflect the experiences we've shared, the adversities we've overcome. A compilation that can serve as a beacon for those who, at this very moment, find themselves navigating stormy seas in their lives." As Claire and Arthur embarked on this new endeavor, the atmosphere around them was filled with vibrant energy, a blend of creative passion and determination to make a positive impact. This project was more than just a mere professional task. It was perceived as a true calling. Claire immersed herself in research, drafting, and exploring stories of personal triumph, each shedding light on the indomitable strength of the human spirit. Arthur, enriched by a vast array of experiences and endowed with an innate talent for storytelling, infused each tale with a depth and insight cultivated over the years, tending to every detail with the precision of an artisan. "We're building something truly special, Arthur," Claire remarked one afternoon as they pored over notes and sketches strewn across the table, the twilight bathing the room in a gentle glow. "Every story we outline is a beacon for someone lost in the shadows." Arthur, lifting his gaze to meet Claire's eyes, nodded with a meaningful smile. "Indeed, Claire. As we weave these narratives, we are intertwining our own experiences and hopes into the fabric of humanity. And there's something extraordinarily beautiful about that." In this joint journey, each work session not only brought Claire and Arthur closer, but also became a space for reflection and celebration of the human capacity to transcend adversities. Their collaboration was more than the sum of its parts. It was an alchemy of wisdom, creativity, and empathy, transforming personal challenges into collective inspiration. And so, as the project took shape, Claire found not only a renewed sense of purpose, but also a deeper understanding of her own life journey. "Arthur, this work has made me realize that even in the darkest moments, we are capable of finding light and meaning," she shared one afternoon, as they contemplated the golden reflection of the setting sun over the sea, a symbol of the hope they sought to sow through their words. As the project came to life, Claire experienced an inner metamorphosis. Dedication to this new endeavor not only bestowed upon her a sense of revitalized mission, but also offered her an altered view of her personal path. Each narrative she outlined acted as a mirror, showing her battles and victories, reaffirming that her suffering was not a burden borne in isolation. It was a reminder that transcending obstacles was a reality within reach, and that hope kept its unwavering light, even in the darkest of times. Arthur, I feel like I'm rediscovering myself through every line we write, Claire shared in a moment of introspection, her words flowing with touching sincerity. It's as if, by giving voice to others' stories, I'm somehow healing parts of myself I thought were lost. Arthur, gazing out at the vastness of the sea stretching ahead, while twilight enveloped the world in its serene palette, responded with an equally reflective tone. That's the power of narrative, Claire. It allows us to weave our experiences, fears, and hopes into a collective tapestry of humanity. And in doing so, we discover that our individual journeys are chapters of a much larger story. This process of creation wasn't just an act of literary construction for Claire. It was a journey of self-discovery and reconnection. Each story she transcribed not only shed light on common human adversities, but also served as a beacon to guide her through her own dark night of the soul. And so, as the project evolved, Claire found not only a new direction to pursue, but also a deeper understanding of her resilience. Arthur, I realize now that despite the shadows that sometimes surround me, I am capable of finding paths illuminated by the hope and strength that reside within me, she reflected in one of the many moments of dialogue between them as they watched the waves gently caress the shore, a constant reminder of the renewal each day brings. The transformation observed in Claire by her children was remarkable. The countenance previously marked by fatigue now radiated a renewed light, a phenomenon that positively altered the atmosphere of the home. The sound of laughter became a constant again, enriching every shared moment with a revived sweetness. Arthur emerged as a stable pillar within this new dynamic, assuming the role of a chosen grandfather, enriching their lives with tales, fun, and a characteristic gentle patience acquired through years of wisdom. For Emma, Jack, Lily, and Alex, Arthur represented a window to imaginary worlds and unknown territories. Infusing their routines with the excitement of discovery and learning, he became the subtle link that helped them navigate paternal absence, offering moments of joy and distraction. "Have you noticed how Mom smiles more lately?" Emma commented one evening as they all settled on the living room couch, ready to hear another one of Arthur's fascinating stories. Jack, with his typical enthusiasm, agreed. "Yes, and Arthur's stories are amazing. He knows so much." Lily, hugging a pillow, added, "I like it when he teaches us new games. It makes me feel closer to Daddy somehow." Alex, the youngest, simply nodded, his eyes sparkling with anticipation for the nighttime adventures narrated by Arthur. Amidst these moments, Claire observed, a feeling of gratitude warming her heart. "Arthur, you've brought something very special to us," she expressed one evening after the children had been tucked into their rooms. "Not just tales and laughter, but a bridge over our grief. How can I ever thank you?" Arthur, looking out at the sea of stars unfolding beyond the window, smiled gently. "Claire, seeing you all smile again is all the thanks I need. We're all navigating these waters together." Claire's home, once echoing with loneliness and sadness, now pulsed with the dynamism of vibrant renewal. Claire and Arthur's productive meetings, regularly situated around the spacious kitchen table, adorned with stacks of manuscripts and volumes, emerged as the epicenter of this metamorphosis. It transformed into a sanctuary of creativity, a sacred place where suffering was transmuted into splendor and grief into valuable soul lessons. "Arthur, look around. Who would have thought this same space, once the stage for so many sleepless nights, would now witness our creative journey?" Claire reflected one afternoon as sunlight streamed through the windows, bathing the room in a warm glow. Arthur, pausing to take in the unfolding ambiance before him, with open books and pages marked with fervent notes, shared his contentment. "Claire, it's extraordinary to see how we've transformed every particle of this space. Where there was emptiness, now there are stories waiting to breathe, to inspire." Amidst the alchemy of their collaboration, every element of the house began to carry traces of Claire's internal transformation. The bookshelf, once filled with painful memories, now displayed a collection of works that served as inspiration for the ongoing project. The walls, once witnesses to Claire's silence, now echoed with laughter and deep dialogues about life, love, and resilience. We're rebuilding more than just my life, Arthur. We're weaving a tapestry of hope not only for me, but for all those who will find solace in our word voice, Claire said, her voice choked with the emotion of profound recognition. Arthur, looking at her with an expression of admiration and respect, replied, "And it is in this process, Claire, that we discover the true magic of the human being. Not only in the ability to overcome, but in the generosity of turning our pain into a beacon for others." Thus, Claire's home, rejuvenated by a symphony of hope and determination, became more than just a mere physical refuge. It was now a monument to the human capacity to rise from the ashes, a living testament that even after the greatest storms, it is possible to find light. And in this revitalized setting, Claire and Arthur continued to write, to share, and to dream. Every word, every line, a step towards a tomorrow filled with new possibilities. As the completion of the project loomed on the horizon, a whirlwind of emotions began to invade Claire. She felt imbued with a sense of accomplishment, intertwined with a twinge of anxiety. The prospect of bringing these narratives to the public knowledge filled her with enthusiasm, yet it brought along the fear of vulnerability. Revealing to the world such an intimate segment of her existence, as well as the experiences that shaped her inspirations, seemed like a leap into the unknown. Arthur, like an unwavering pillar, stood by her side, strengthening her courage with motivational words, highlighting the significant influence that her stories could have on the reader's core. "Claire, remember why we embarked on this journey," Arthur expressed in one of those moments of doubt, the soft light of dusk bathing the space where they stood. "Every line you've written carries the strength to touch hearts and illuminate paths. The world deserves to hear your voice." Absorbing the serenity and conviction in Arthur's voice, Claire allowed herself to contemplate the magnitude of her accomplishment. "Arthur, it's a strange sensation," she confided, her eyes reflecting the complexity of her feelings. "Part of me fears judgment, but another part yearns for the chance to connect, to truly make a difference. That's the essence of true expression," Arthur responded, observing the twilight's reflection in her eyes. "Exposing our vulnerabilities is what makes us genuine, what creates bridges between souls. Your honesty, your courage in sharing your story is what will resonate with those seeking hope." Encouraged by Arthur's wisdom and unwavering support, Claire gradually embraced the complexity of her feelings, recognizing that uncertainty was an intrinsic part of the creative process. Together, they prepared to present to the world a mosaic of personal stories, intertwined by the universal theme of resilience and hope. "You're offering a treasure, Claire," he articulated with conviction, "a legacy of hope and enlightenment. Nothing could be more precious than that." Motivated by Arthur's encouraging words, Claire embraced the final stretch of the project with rejuvenated vigor. And after an intense journey of tireless dedication, the fruit of her labor was ready to be revealed to the world. The organization of the launch event evolved into a collective endeavor, mobilizing the entire Seabrook community in a celebration that exalted human resilience and the ability to transcend life's challenges. "Arthur, I never imagined we would reach so many people," Claire expressed as they both reviewed the final details for the event. "Seeing our small community coming together for something we created together, it's surreal." Arthur, with a contemplative look over the bustling preparations animating the city, replied, "Claire, what we've done here goes beyond the pages we've written. We're touching hearts, igniting sparks of courage in those who need it most. This is the true power of sharing." As the day of the launch approached, the excitement in the town of Seabrook was palpable. Posters announcing the event adorned shop windows, and residents shared the growing anticipation, eager to witness the outcome of Claire and Arthur's joint effort. The local library, chosen as the venue for the celebration, transformed into a symbol of community unity, carefully decorated to welcome visitors into an environment reflecting the central theme of the work: overcoming adversity. "Arthur, look at all of this," Claire said, moved as they observed the community gathered in the library, transformed for the occasion. "Our stories, Our lessons will now inspire so many others. It's more than I could have asked for." "You did this, Claire," Arthur assured with an affectionate smile. "Your strength, your light, guided this project from the beginning. Today, we celebrate not just a launch, but the journey of every individual who will find solace and inspiration in the pages we've woven together." Thus, amidst the vibrant celebration capturing the essence of humanity in its struggle and triumph, Claire and Arthur contemplated not only the completion of a project, but the beginning of a new stage, where their words would serve as a beacon for souls in search of direction, proving that even in the deepest adversities, hope and light always find a way. On the scheduled launch date, the Seabrook Library assumed the role of stage for a memorable event of congregation and festivity. A crowd composed of friends, relatives, and other town inhabitants converged on the location, driven by the anticipation and excitement of discovering the work gestated by Claire and Arthur. Claire, despite the whirlwind of emotions flooding her, felt comforted by the unwavering support of her closest circle, with Arthur prominently featured, displaying a countenance radiating satisfaction and admiration. "It's today, Claire," said Arthur, noticing the tension that enveloped her. "You'll see. The impact of this book goes beyond what we can imagine." Claire replied with a shy smile, her heart beating rapidly. "It still feels surreal to me, Arthur, seeing everyone here because of us. It's more than I ever dreamed of." As they prepared to begin the presentation, an energy of anticipation filled the air. The curious gazes of those present wandered through the room, adorned with inspiring quotes from the work and images, capturing essences of the stories shared in the book. "Good evening, everyone," Claire began, her voice steady despite the initial nervousness. "What started as a personal project between me and Arthur has evolved into something that we hope will touch your lives in a significant way." Arthur, adding to her words, said, "Every page of this book is an invitation to reflect, to find light even in the darkest shadows. It's a testament to the strength that resides within each of us." As the night progressed, conversations revolved around the stories from the book, with many expressing how they were moved by Claire and Arthur's words. The library, normally a place of silence and study, buzzed with the exchange of ideas and emotions, transforming into a true form of inspiration and human connection. Claire, looking around, felt overwhelmed by a wave of gratitude and accomplishment. "Arthur, we did it. Somehow we turned our pain into something that can help and inspire others." With a welcoming smile, Arthur replied, "Yes, Claire. And this is just the beginning. Who knows how many lives we'll be able to touch from here?" With her gaze fixed on the attentive faces before her, Claire felt the quickened pulse of her heart. Drawing in a deep breath to gather her courage, she began recounting her personal saga, addressing the profound sadness that accompanied her after a great loss, the arduous search for new meaning in her existence, and how that project had transformed into a beacon of hope, not only for herself but potentially for the audience present. To transcend adversities is not merely to reach a final destination, but to journey through a path, she articulated, her voice echoing determination and transparency. "It's a path that, in a way, we all tread, sharing the pains and the victories. I hope that, as you delve into these pages, you find solace, motivation, and the strength needed to overcome the barriers that present themselves in your lives." As Claire unveiled her story, the silence of the audience bore witness to the impact of her words. Emotional faces and understanding gazes reflected the connection created through the sharing of her experience. Upon concluding her speech, a wave of applause and expressions of gratitude flooded the room, evidencing the resonance of her message. "Truly touching, Claire," a voice echoed from the midst of the audience, soon after the speech's conclusion. "Your bravery in turning pain into something so beautiful and useful is a profound inspiration." Claire, moved, responded, "Thank you. If these stories can illuminate even a single path, then every effort will have been worthwhile." The launch event, initially a professional milestone, had transformed into a point of unity and inspiration, with Claire and Arthur at the epicenter of this wave of positivity. The library, the stage for this transformative gathering, had become a symbol of refuge where stories of pain turned into tales of overcoming and hope. As the launch event came to a close and Claire devoted her time to signing copies of the book, a profound sense of appreciation enveloped her. She was immensely grateful for Arthur, for the children, for the community of Seabrook, and for every individual who, directly or indirectly, had woven their part into the tapestry of her recovery process. Recognizing that her journey towards wholeness still lay ahead, Claire now felt armed with a new hope and a renewed determination, convinced of her ability to overcome any future obstacles. As she handed over another signed book, she shared with a smile, "Each signature is a reminder of the bridges we've built together. It's incredible to realize how much strength we can find in community and mutual support." Arthur, observing the scene from a distance, approached and commented, "You've done something extraordinary, Claire. You've turned your adversities into a source of inspiration for so many." Claire paused, looking into Arthur's eyes, and replied, "It wouldn't have been possible without you and everyone around me. This book is more than pages. It's a manifesto of human resilience." Aware of the challenges that could still arise, Claire now saw herself differently. The experiences shared during the conception and promotion of the book had forged in her a more resilient and optimistic spirit. "The path ahead may be uncertain," she reflected aloud, "but with the support I have and the strength I've rediscovered, I feel equipped to embrace whatever comes." As the last reader bid farewell, leaving the library silent once more, Claire and Arthur exchanged a glance of complicity and satisfaction. They knew that although the night had come to an end, the journey they had embarked on together was far from over. With their bond strengthened and a clear vision of their capabilities, Claire was ready to move forward, embracing each new phase with openness and courage, inspiring and encouraging others to do the same. And so it was, immersed in a sea of narratives about overcoming obstacles, that Claire Morgan discovered her happy ending. A conclusion not definitive or immutable, but constantly shaped by daily decisions of bravery, affection, and perseverance. She understood that even in the darkest times there would always be stars in the sky to illuminate her path, and that in the end, clarity would always find a way to shine. Within these stories, I found more than just inspiration. I found a roadmap for rebuilding my life. Claire shared with a reader awaiting an autograph, her voice laden with newfound conviction. "That is extraordinary," the reader replied, eyes shimmering with a mixture of admiration and hope. "Your words, your experiences, they offer such necessary light." Claire smiled, recognizing in the other's gaze the search for guidance she herself had undertaken. Each of us has the capacity to find light, even in the most challenging moments. I hope this book serves as a beacon for you, as it did for me. As the line moved forward, each interaction reinforced the transformation Claire had experienced. She listened to others' stories, realizing that her journey had echoed in ways she never imagined. The night unfolded with meaningful exchanges, each adding a new hue to the tapestry of her life. As the event came to a close and the last few people left the library, Claire leaned back in her chair, contemplating the silence of the now empty space. A sense of peace washed over her, a recognition that she had come a long way from those sleepless nights of despair. Approaching with a wise look and a gentle smile, Arthur remarked, "You've done something wonderful here, Claire. Not just for yourself, but for everyone fortunate enough to come across your words." Looking at her friend, now more like a kindred spirit, Claire replied, "I couldn't have done it without you, Arthur. This book, our story, it's a testament to the power of human connection, empathy, and unwavering resilience." In that moment, with the echoes of conversation still reverberating off the library walls, Claire felt immense gratitude. Gratitude not just for the journey traveled, but for the journey yet to come. Armed with a renewed sense of purpose and unwavering hope, she faced the future with open eyes, ready to embrace each subsequent chapter with the certainty that, no matter how dark the night may seem, there will always be stars in the sky and the promise of a new dawn.